Great good morning, everyone. It is 9:12 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Tuesday, July 7, year of our Lord, 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America, the place where the brave, like the veterans we salute today, thanks to John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care personal care community, they have made us and kept us free. Like Larry Stange, Springbrook Township, Ernest Tressa, Plains Township, Timothy Martin, Harvey's Lake, James Kissel, Dixon City, Thomas Aiello, Milton, and David Bauer, Gettysburg, but he was from Berwick. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible, irreplaceable, and profoundly wise founding fathers who knew that government should not be, could not be, and they took great pains to make sure that it never would be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Because government power always means less freedom, less liberty, and less choice. And because human nature would abuse it. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared by law to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. Now, because they were armed with these freedoms, and only because of that fact, these Americans, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, many of them rejects from around the world, they and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. And we proved it in year 250, didn't we? America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose. Unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed. Unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our total, immersive, immovable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here for the balance of this singular, extraordinary morning. And aren't they all? Well, good to be with you, gang. I really do. I got to tell you, and you guys, I think you know it. I love hanging around with you people. I truly do. It is a rare pleasure, one of the pleasures of my life. And I take full advantage of it, always. So our live stream, you go to WILK, Bob Cordaro Show, WILK, and you will see I've got my red all-time great shirt on today. And that live stream on YouTube is brought to you by our friends, the Roach Supply Gang. ROCHE. Roach Supply, headquartered in Honesdale. They're the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. 95-year-old Ron Roach at the helm. Generations working beneath him seamlessly. And 75 years in business means what? It means they're great at what they do. They're honest. They'll get the job done for you for your kitchen and bath. Most important part, most expensive parts of your house. Visit Roach Supply, R-O-C-H-E, roachsupply.com today. Did you guys watch the soccer? I started. I even watched like pregame, and I can't watch. I can't watch soccer. And by the way, if you look at American football versus something like rugby, and some would say soccer, it is a slow-moving, nothing-happening game, American football. But I can't watch it. But I tried. As soon as the other team scored, I knew we were going to lose. What was it, Belgium? And I'm telling Cutie, I couldn't help throw this editorial in, and she said, "Shut up," basically. I said, "Do you know that country is a disaster?" I said, there's areas of Brussels you can't even go, you can't go to, the cops can't go to because of unfettered immigration. Crazy stuff. In any event, somebody takes it, Bob LTS. A little constructive criticism. The AC/DC opening thing is not good. It's impossible to listen to, I guess, you with the singer screaming behind you talking. Well, Bulldog, you got to turn it down a little bit, Bulldog. That's all Bulldog. But now he knows. The big news, and I got an inside tip on Graham Plattner. I don't know if it's going to play out. But then, amazingly, something else did. This guy, you want to talk about a train wreck. But let me say this, though. Graham Plattner's a scumbag piece of spit. But he's the Democrat nominee. And he's a left-winger, and we love him. And Elizabeth Warren says he's my kind of guy. Yeah, a rapist, a woman beater, a person who hates the country, hates the military, abused our friend, Purple Heart recipient Teddy Daniels. Yeah, oh yeah, that guy. my kind of guy. These people are unbelievable. These Democrats are unbelievable. If I was a member of the Democrat Party, if I was registered Democrat, I would have to leave after this fiasco. I would have to. I could not have Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and Hakeem Jeffries, I could go through the list, be my representatives. Like, oh, yeah, that's my team. That's the team I'm part of. These people are disgusting. They're insane. But the Graham Plattner story, and how about stupid old idiot Bernie Sanders? He's a likable guy, but he is, he may be the dumbest person on the planet. He may be. One of the guys in our Club for Common Sense text thing, Dems, this is a Babylon Bee thing. Dems wishing there had been some sort of sign that Plattner was a bad person. Now, Tuesday's the dropout day. Tuesday's the dropout day. I guess it's 5 o'clock, the 13th. So now this new woman coming in, basically saying that, you know, he was abusive towards her. And I don't know her from Adam. She seems credible. Well, There is of the I'm told that something could drop by Tuesday that's worse than everything else. It's insane. It's that bad. From his service days. Graham Plattner. This is your Democrat Party. You got to get out of it. Now I'm like, you know what? And I don't care about being a Republican. We got plenty of fools there. But at least they pretend that they will follow common sense and the good of the American people. They pretend it. Some of them mean it. Some of them just pretending. But at least they're pretending on your side. The Democrats don't even pretend anymore. They don't even pretend they're supporting you. And we'll have a local example when we come back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. A little from our sponsors, a little history, a little music, and we'll come back with a local example of insanity by the Democrats. Elvis. Murph tells us he had his first #1 hit in the UK with All Shook Up, this date, 1957. If you guys are emailing me, I don't know what the problem is with my iPad Pro, but it's I can't charge it. I've got it plugged in. I've got to run right to a computer store. It's amazing. You don't know how to live without these things. And so I've got to run right to a computer store after the show and check it out. Right? What's wrong? Why won't this take a charge? It could just be that the plug-in thing is bad. I just don't know. And I won't worry about it till then. But it's going to run out at some point. I had the Bulldog printed a number of, I guess they're memes. I don't know what you'd call them. But this is the one that I love. Okay, and it just says this. Americans willing to cross, it has George Washington with the Delaware. Americans willing to cross a frozen river to kill you in your sleep on Christmas. Totally not kidding. We've done it. Oh, love it. And there's another one from President Ronald Reagan. Some wonder all their lives if they've made a difference. The Marines don't have that problem, do they? And then this about the veteran. It is the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the veteran, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to assemble. It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the veteran who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag. May God bless our veterans, and may they feel the love of a grateful nation. There's another one. Well, this one, it's more of a picture. But men in 1944 facing almost certain death, and it shows our troops getting off the carriers going to Normandy Beach. And then it shows hiding behind a desk chair, men in 2020 facing a 99.9% survival rate, talking about COVID, some clown with a mask hiding behind a chair. And somebody else, I have another one. It says, it's easy to be a socialist in a free country, but try being free in a socialist country. Amen. I'm telling you. So I get Friday's newspaper. They save it for me because we were off. I go to page 3. And there's our Senator Bob Casey, former senator. And he's at Black Scranton. It's a building that was donated to them, an old bank building up in North Scranton. And it's called the Who Pays Tour. I call it the Irony Abounds Tour. Okay? Who pays? These are people with their hands out for everything they could grab of other people's money, and they're calling it the Who Pays Tour. They don't know the word irony. They don't know they have zero self-awareness. And Bobby Casey's there with someone called the CEO, Glynis Johns. Who pays? We pay for all of you. It's insanity. And they don't even get it. They don't get the irony of it. It's families over billionaires. Like, do you know how stupid you have to be? Seriously. And then the lie, the newspaper, which is scum. The event raises awareness about the impacts of recent federal tax cuts and budget reductions. There aren't any. You check and see how much the government's paying on Medicaid and SNAP. Just check. And they just say, oh, recent federal tax cuts and budget reductions. They just say it. Unbelievable. I got to tell you, Bobby Casey, right in the middle of it, he has not, his electoral defeat has not chastened him from left-wing lunatic insanity. It hasn't. Unbelievable. It's just sad. Bobby, what the hell happened to you? God almighty. Somebody text in because we got to go out on a pleasant note. He says, Graham Plattner should just deny the allegations of these women by saying, you're really going to believe a woman who sleeps with Nazis? Very good. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. Let's listen to our great sponsors, hear what they've got to offer, and it's a lot. We'll come back with the Veterans Tribute, the weather, and more on the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, this day, as with every day, brought to you dutifully, proudly, patriotically by John Basiliga. It's Tuesday, so we like to talk about his Serenity Care personal care community. The best in senior living in Northeast Pennsylvania. 4 locations in the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, then at the southern tip of Lackawanna, in Old Forge, Wyoming, Kingston. I've been at these locations. They are beautiful, just beautiful. They've been completely renovated inside and out, accepting new residents. Dementia care units at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All-inclusive monthly rent. Individually controlled heating and cooling. Emergency call systems in every resident room, medication administration, safe storage, daily housekeeping and laundry services, freshly prepared restaurant quality meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The places are spotless and beautiful. Serenity Care. Ernest Tressa. We lost him June 26th. He was from Plains Township. He was 88 years old. Born in West Wyoming, graduate of West Wyoming High School, class of 57. He was a U.S. Army veteran of the Vietnam era, where he served with the Army Corps of Engineers in Korea and with the 109th Field Artillery in Kingston. Ernie was employed by the Topps Company for 26 years as a maintenance mechanic. He was a member of Saints Peter and Paul Parish in Plains. He was also a member of the Plains American Legion. He served there on the Funeral Honor Guard, past president of the Home Association. He belonged to the Wyoming VFW as well. Co-founder of the Plains Youth Soccer League. Served as coach for the Plains Little League and the Plains Yankee Mini Football League. He volunteered with scouting in Plains Troop 100 as well. Avid hunter, fisherman, mushroomer. He loved fishing and camping along the Susquehanna with friends. He loved traveling to the U.S. destinations, including Alaska, Hawaii, the Western National Parks. As a father, he passed his passion for travel and adventure to his children, who still embrace those values today. Surviving are his wife for 65 years, Dolores Sokola Tressa, his daughter and her partner, his sons, brother, nephew, and other family. Ernest Tressa. Lawrence Larry Stange. Beloved husband, father, grandfather, veteran, and friend. We lost him June 18th. He was from Springbrook Township. His early years were marked by tremendous hardship. After the loss of his mother at 7, he spent a brief time in foster care and endured difficulties that would have hardened many people. Instead, Larry chose kindness. He carried a gentle heart throughout his life and gave freely of himself to those around him. He was married to the love of his life, Shirley McKelwee Stange, for 67 years. He was the devoted father of Lawrence Larry Stange and his wife Patty, Bonnie and her husband Gary, 4 grandchildren, preceded in death tragically by an infant daughter, Cynthia Jean Stange. A proud graduate of Moscow High School, class of 54, a United States Navy veteran. Larry worked as an oiler for 25 years at Chamberlain Manufacturing and gave it his all. Among his proudest accomplishments was the home he built with his own hands, where he and Shirley raised their children. He later helped build the home of his son Larry and daughter-in-law Patty. Larry loved the outdoors and every dog he ever met, who fed the crows in his yard faithfully for many years, earning their trust. He cut neighborhood children's hair, fixed many bike tires. He was a fixer who could create anything. Restoring and building vehicles, there seemed to be no tool he couldn't repair. Those who knew Larry knew a handsome, selfless man whose quiet generosity touched countless lives. While he's gone from this earthly plane, he'll be remembered in every fishing pond, every bluegill pulled from the water, every crow that gathers in a yard, every well-used tool fixed by a steady hand, and everything that is the color blue. Larry Stange. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and his Serenity Care Senior Living Community. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain. The water park's in full swing. Today, cloudy and humid with a passing shower or two. High 74. Tonight, mostly cloudy, 63. Tomorrow, humid with intervals of clouds and sunshine, high 85, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm, 82 degrees, low 68. Friday, periods of clouds and sunshine, couple of showers and a thunderstorm, humid, high 83, low 64. Saturday, mainly cloudy with a thunderstorm and spots in the afternoon, high 84, low, who knows? It doesn't say. And that's your weather, brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain, the water park right underneath your nose. Well, you know what that music means. It means we're going to learn something today because Tina Morocco's in the house. Global sales advisor at Sotheby's International Realty, Naples, Florida. She's your trusted guide for Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. You can reach her at Sotheby's or direct at Tina Morocco, M-U-R-A-C-C-O, MURACCO.com, or on any social media, Tina Morocco. Hi, Tina. How are you today?
Hey, Bob. I'm fabulous. How are you?
Well, we have sort of a dreary day, so we're happy you're bringing the sunshine on.
The sunshine is here in Naples.
Yes. Talk to me. What do you got for us today?
Well, let's do a little market update. I'm going to do a little bit of a high-low here in the Naples area. I'm going to talk about single-family homes and what's happening in the market here. We're getting a little more balanced. We were in a buyer's market for a while, but inventory is dropping. A lot of properties are being sold. A lot of properties coming off the market. That happens a lot in the summertime because people take them off and then they relist them in season. So it's starting to get slimmer pickings here. We have about 2,200 single-family home listings. That's just the home listings, not condo listings in Naples right now, which is considered more of a balanced market. So let's talk about highs and lows. So the highest price listing, single-family home listing that we have in Naples right now is $271 million.
How much? How much?
271 million.
I'll take it. Oh, Lord.
And that's one of the highest price listings in the United States.
There's an old saying. In real estate. I'm going to butcher it, I'm sure. But it says basically never have the most expensive home in a neighborhood. Well, he's got the most expensive home in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
My gosh.
Well, this home, let me just tell you, and as you can imagine, it's extraordinary, but it's more extraordinary for the property that it sits on. So this is at the point of, it's called Gordon Point, and it's a property that is in Port Royal, and it sits on almost 10 acres of land. So you get the Naples Bay view, and you also get the Gulf view. Beautiful.
Do we really need to continue with this? Let's get to the bottom range
Let's go to the bottom range
where you can intrigue me. I don't even want to drive by that property. I won't even drive by it. I refuse.
Let's just Google it. Look it up.
It's good to know it's there, though. My God.
Yeah. So on the bottom end of the single-family home listings in Naples, around $300,000 can get you a single-family home in Naples. Most of these are fixer-uppers. There are a lot of them in East Naples, but also if we're considering Ave Maria Naples, which is, borders Naples, there's some newer construction homes for right around $300,000 in Ave Maria, and that's, sort of east of Naples. So that's like $300,000 to $271 million. That's the range of properties we're looking at here in Naples right now for homes.
But 300. We're finding houses up here regularly. That's a low number regularly.
Exactly.
I look at the real estate in the sales in the local paper, and they're double that very often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, let's then talk about Fort Myers, because we're talking about Naples right now, and the differences between Naples and Fort Myers in pricing is pretty substantial. So on the low end of Fort Myers, I was just looking, there's a bunch of homes right around $100,000, single-family homes. And most of these are in the North Fort Myers and East Fort Myers area, a lot of fixer-uppers, but opportunities there in that price point, like right around $100,000. On the high end,
I wouldn't have believed that possible. That's fantastic.
I know. So Fort Myers definitely has more inventory. Fort Myers in general right now is still leaning more towards a buyer's market. Yeah. They have more inventory in single-family homes than Naples does. But on the high end of Fort Myers, we have $18 million. That's another tip lot, similar lot to the one in Naples, but $18 million versus $271 million.
Yeah.
A little bit of a difference there.
My word. But,
Yeah.
you know, but the point is you could afford it. If you want to, you could afford it as a second home and certainly as a primary home.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's lots of different options here.
Great stuff. Tina Morocco, 270 million. I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. You tell them I'm coming to take a look, all right?
All right. I'll set up a showing.
Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Sotheby's Realty, Naples, Florida. Reach her at Sotheby's or Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com. Thanks, Tina. Love it.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. the Kinks. Murph tells us this date, 1966. They're the number one hit in the UK with Sunny Afternoon, July 7th, 1966. Bob Carr, back with you. Mark the Shark from Hazelton texted into me, and it's Yoda. It says, the real job before us is not cleaning up the mess that Biden created. The real job is cleaning up the mess.
At heart, at age 70, and the only thing I cared about in school was math and physical science-related things. And fortunately for me, we live in an age where I can listen to podcasts, I can talk to AI, I can learn all kinds of things that I did not know before. And just quickly, Bob, I want to tell your listeners that the United States, just like your intro of this show talked about, is in grave danger.
Yep.
All right? And the truth of the matter is, most of the people are walking around, the old saying, fat, dumb, and happy, and I'm not being derogatory, but they have a busy life. They have to take care of what they need to take care of, and they don't have the time to pay attention to what I pay attention to. Rome
but
did not
Mike,
fall.
I'm fat, dumb, and happy, and yet I'm paying attention. so being fat, dumb, and happy is not an excuse for this insanity. Like Black Scranton Project, Bob Casey. It's insane.
Exactly. Okay, what I was going to say was Rome did not fall. It steadily declined over time.
Yep.
And the people in each generation did not see it happening. And right now in the United States, we are experiencing the same thing. There's about 10 factors that went bad in Rome. Right now, you can make the case that the United States has 6 of them qualified for. 2 of them are 50-50, and we're ahead in 2. But I will actually disagree with one of them that the experts say we're ahead. Go into that. But what I'm saying is we're just like Rome. People are going about their lives, and they do not see the danger that we are in. Mm-hmm. And unless we are willing to all get on the same page and have a common society for the good of this country and the survival of this country, we'll end up just like Rome.
Believe me, I agree with you so much. It's a very important point. And all we're asking people to do is vote. Go out and vote for normal people and vote these Democrats out until they find their senses. That's all we're asking. Not a lot. Not a lot. Enough to storm a beach,
No, but they have to understand that the mainstream media is not their friend. The mainstream media is now controlled by a hand. And listen, most people are going to say I'm a conspiracy nut, but the truth of the matter is the mainstream media is controlled by a bunch of people who do not have our interest in mind. They decide what gets to be news. They decide what the narratives are each day. And those narratives are all anti-Trump right now, anti-Republican, and pro, just like you said, DEI, diversity, minorities, inclusion, illegal aliens. They try to do everything to sway your mind into thinking that we can be better if we just go along with the Democrat left socialist.
Yep.
And that is a road to disaster. It always has been, and it always will be.
Amen. Michael, thank you, my brother. Keep exercising. Although we are fat and happy, we want to be thinner and happy.
Hey, you got it, Bob. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey, my Picardo Jewelers watch says 10:01. By the way, somebody texted in, Bob LTS never laughed so hard after the $271 million home in Florida. And we thought Picardo Jewelers was high end. Well, and there you go. It's for all flavors. Just like Picardo's. $271 million and $100,000. I'm in. I'm in for the $100,000. Slick says, and Slick, I forgot to ask. Maybe if she could be still listening on the app, he says, Bob LTS, back at you, I say. Ask her if she knows whose property that is in Naples for $270 million. Probably a corporation or a trust, which won't tell us much. But if we find out, we'll let you know. But for now, 10:02 on my Picardo's watch. Let's take a break. We'll come back after that. We got Lou Barletta. Then we have our Secretary of Labor, both of them in the first half hour of next hour. Great to be with you. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. It's 10:07 a.m. on this beautiful Tuesday, July 7th, the year of our Lord 2026. My Cordaro Jeweler's watch tells me it's so. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Cares senior living community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year, but pay tribute to today, thanks to John, like Larry Stange, Springbrook Township, Ernest Tressa, Plains Township, Timothy Martin, Harvey's Lake, James Kissel, Dixon City, Thomas Aiello, Milton, and David Bauer, Gettysburg, but he was from Berwick. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all who hearken here. Well, Lou Barletta, former mayor of Hazleton, a multi-term congressman, candidate Republican nominee for governor, and great guy. And he's the guy who first brought up and made the clarion call against illegal immigration and the damage it was doing. And it came home to us again in Northeast Pennsylvania with the murder of one of our great state policemen by an illegal alien who was given a CDL license by the state of Massachusetts. Beyond disgusting. I was talking about this yesterday. I said the one thing we know is that this crime would not have happened but for the insanity of the Democrat Party. And here he is, our man Lou Barletta. Lou, great to have you on. Good to talk to you again.
Thanks, Bob. And I wish we weren't having this conversation about the topic we're having.
It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And, you know, this man is a hero, every day waking up, trying to protect us and keep us safe. And, it's very difficult for me to watch this. His family, who will be devastated and destroyed forever by a senseless act that didn't happen. And, Bob, it's over 20 years now, as ridiculous as this is, since the murder of Derek Kishline in Hazleton, when I spoke up and said enough is enough. And here we are 20 years later, mourning the loss of another hero of a senseless act and the liberal policies, radical policies of the Biden administration, and the silence of Governor Shapiro, and not standing up and saying this man should be alive today if we didn't have these policies. And unfortunately, we'll have this discussion again, and it'll be someone else.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Lou, how do we reach? I mean, we had this Sheridan Gorman's mother talking to some of your former colleagues and saying, why do you favor illegal aliens over my daughter, an American citizen? Is there any way to reach these sick, twisted lunatics? Is there?
I think the only way it reaches them, Bob, is if it hits them directly in their family. It's hard to speak to an Angel family and give them any explanation as to why anyone would stand up for someone who's in the country illegally over American citizens who are harmed. And, it's ridiculous. I've had this argument. It's such a weak argument from radicals who say, well, what about all the, American citizens that commit murder? If we could stop one crime, if we could stop one family from being destroyed, would we not do it?
Yep.
Every single one of these murders that happened by somebody in the country illegally could be prevented, 100% of them. So that argument is just ridiculous, and it's sad that somebody would even make that statement.
Lou, is there anything that we could do other than, which I keep telling the listeners, we've got to vote. But is there anything other than that we can do to try to fight this scourge and this insanity?
Well, the only thing you could do is hold your public officials and anyone running for office, hold their feet to the fire. If they're not willing to stand up and actually do something, not say something, but actually do something. Talk is cheap, especially by any politician who doesn't have the courage. Will say something because it's popular, but not really do something about it. And until that happens, Bob, until the people say we've had enough of this, and actually vote these people out of office, or don't ever let them in office unless they promise and actually keep that promise to vote and stand up and be vocal and do something about it. Anyone who's silent about Trooper Pajera, who is no longer with us today and should be, I don't think they should be in office.
Yeah. And they just change the subject or ignore it. It is so outrageous, and it's on so many issues. I'm just talking about an event that the former Senator Casey was at, talking to a group called Black Scranton, and they're talking about cuts. Now, it's the Who Pays tour, and it's like they're all getting government money and demanding more of it, and the tour's called Who Pays? I said they should call it the Irony Abounds tour.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this insanity?
It's really sad and crazy, and I feel for his Trooper Pajera's family, and again, my respect for everyone in law enforcement that go to work every day to keep us safe, and to lose someone like this in a senseless act is heartbreaking. It's tragic. I mean, we just celebrated Independence Day, and unfortunately, this family, it will never be the same for them.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, Lou Barletta, we thank you for waging this battle from the beginning and continuing to express your viewpoint, which is sadly proven correct over and over and over again. And people have to get with it. They have to get with it, and they have to vote, and they have to make things happen to support rationality against insanity.
And thank you, Bob, for what you're doing, because your voice is heard, and I congratulate you on your courage to stand up for what's right.
Well, I miss seeing you, Lou. Hope all is well, and can you still throw a fastball?
I could, but I still can't hit a curveball.
Lou Barletta, our man, thank you so much. You check in anytime.
Thanks,
all right, my friend.
Thank you.
you.
Take care.
We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to come back with with HUD Secretary Turner after these messages. I don't know how they found it, but this is the Yardbirds. Murph tells us back in July 7, 1968, they performed their final concert, Luton College of Technology, Bedfordshire, England. They kicked off the show with The Train Kept A-Rollin'. Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. And we're joined now by HUD Secretary Scott Turner, confirmed by the U.S. Senate, took office in February 5th, 2025, 19th Secretary of HUD. He previously led the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, driving if you remember this in the first term, the Opportunity Zones Initiative. Lifelong Texan, Turner represented the 33rd District in the Texas State Legislature. And he played 9 seasons in the National Football League, which we love. And here he is, HUD Secretary Scott Turner. Mr. Secretary, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Bob. Great to be with you.
Well, tell us, you've been doing a little tour of Pennsylvania regarding working families, tax cuts, and housing affordability. Take that on. Tell us what you've been up to.
Yes, sir. I'm so happy to be here in the Keystone State of Pennsylvania. I have some great buddies. You might know Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor,
Sure.
who were 2 Eagles players, the true cornerstones, and so they send their greetings via me. We're here, obviously, to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Working Family Tax Cut, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. These policies are transformative for the American people, including the permanency of opportunity zones, which have been a true blessing to our country over the last 4 or 5 years. And so I'm grateful to the president and all of those that have worked on this to make sure that we can continue the momentum of opportunity zones here in Pennsylvania.
Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner, is our guest. He is in Pennsylvania doing a little tour. Where are you today, sir?
So today I'll be in Hazleton there with Congressman Bresnahan, and we'll be doing a roundtable on housing affordability and opportunity zones and looking at a specific project there in an opportunity zone called the Crossroads, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And then I'll come back to Bethlehem and Allentown with the Representative McKenzie to also tour an opportunity zone project and talk about housing affordability and what we're doing under President Trump.
HUD Secretary Scott Turner is our guest. Secretary Turner, one of the things the Fed came out, of all places, with a study that said as much as 30% of housing cost increases is attributable to the flood of illegals into this country, and it has greatly increased rents and therefore affordability to purchase or to rent.
Absolutely. And when you look at the Biden administration and the open border policies and the weak immigration policies, weak economic and housing policies, and you let tens of millions of illegals come across the border unchecked and unvetted, it puts a great strain, as you alluded to our housing supply. It drives the cost up, 30% cost in housing, 20% cost in rental. And so there was a demand shock, if you will, because of illegals coming across the border. And you know what? These houses are for the American people and for American people only, people that are American citizens and eligible tenants here in America. So we've cracked down, Bob, if you will, from a HUD standpoint to make sure that American taxpayer dollars are going for the American people as it pertains to HUD-funded housing, as it pertains to FHA-backed mortgages. That's for the American people. So under President Trump, securing the border, making sure we close these loopholes from a HUD standpoint and prioritizing American people and American people only will bring the cost down and bring the supply up in our country for housing, and also stabilize the rental market for the American people.
Scott Turner is our guest. He is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. You've taken an all-of-the-above strategy to promote housing affordability. It's got a number of planks. Talk to us a little bit about those.
Yes, sir. So when we came in, we started taking inventory and said, what is making our housing costs go up? We alluded to immigration, but also the number one thing that I hear as I go around the country is regulatory environment. regulatory, burdensome, red tape that stifles construction, it stifles development. And so we started at HUD, and the first thing we did was take down a rule called the Affirmatively Further and Fair Housing Rule, also known as AFFH. And basically, Bob, what this was, it made HUD a national zoning board whereby we were telling, cities in Pennsylvania, Texas, New Hampshire, California, all across the country, you have to zone and build a certain way if you want to be eligible to receive funds from the federal government. Well, every community has unique needs. Washington should not be heavy-handed and a micromanager in chief. And so we rescinded that and took that down to restore flexibility back to the localities. We also just published our regulatory best practices report. And what this report is a research culmination from our team of practices that have been done around the country in state and local governments that are easing the regulatory environment, that are looking at zoning, looking at permitting, looking at duplicative processes and how we can bring those down to restore building and development, to give builders and construction and entrepreneurs the flexibility, if you will, to build, so make it easier to build and make it easier to buy. And so that's the all-above approach that you're talking about. The president signed 2 new executive orders to also attack this, to increase the mortgage credit environment, and also to bring down the regulatory environment to make it easier for construction and development around our country.
That zoning power grab that you started off that last discussion with, that zoning power grab by the Biden administration was one of the most insidious things that they did. They were going to put housing in neighborhoods of all kinds, group housing, everything. They're basically were going to get rid of zoning.
Right. Well, basically what they were doing, they were re-engineering neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that is not the place of the federal government. HUD is a great convener. HUD is a great facilitator, but we're not a micromanager. We have to restore flexibilities back to the localities because Richardson, Texas, and Tamaqua, Pennsylvania are different. Trenton, New Jersey, and Carrollton, Texas are totally different. And as we travel around the country, urban, tribal, and rural, you'll see the unique needs. There are some common needs because housing impacts all 360 million people in this country, but every community is different. And so we want to hand that back over to the states, back over to the localities, be a great convener and a facilitator and helper, but ultimately that comes from the private and local markets.
Scott Turner, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, how are you enjoying the job? Because this is a big job and a big task.
It is. I love it. I do. It's a great blessing for me to be able to serve in this capacity. I have the most wonderful team of people that God has blessed me with, and every day we get to serve the American people, the most vulnerable people in our country, and we don't take it lightly. When we came in, we all got together, so we're going to return HUD back to its mission-minded focus because it had lost its mission, it had lost its focus. And we're not trying to grow the amount of people that we put on government subsidies, Bob. We're trying to decrease that amount to get people off of government subsidies to a life of self-sufficiency and to achieve the American dream of home ownership and fulfill their God-given potential. And so it's a different paradigm.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. And I wake up every day challenged and encouraged with that.
Now, Scott Turner, I did not know that you had 9 seasons in the National Football League. That intrigues me. Tell us a little bit about your NFL career.
Well, I got drafted in 1995 by the Washington Redskins out of the University of Illinois and played 3 years in Washington, 4 years in San Diego, 2 years in Denver. And I had some great mentors, great teachers, and lifelong friends that I still walk with, some 30 years later. Yeah. From a business, ministry, life perspective. The NFL, took a kid that came from brokenness and chaos and confusion and gave me a platform, not only to fulfill the childhood dream and to utilize the skill set that God gave me, but also to use that to be a blessing in my generation for other people. And because of that, to this day, I still want to carry that on. And, I ask the Lord all the time to increase my territory, so that I can make an impact in the lives of others. And so now here we are, sitting at HUD. And it's just a continuation of that.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, you know, you are the epitome of the story that we want people to be able to have and lives we want people to be able to have
Yes.
through your HUD programs.
That's right.
You're in the perfect place and you're the right guy. I love it. Absolutely love it, Secretary Turner.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate you.
Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner, our guest. We thank you so much for coming on with us. You know you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Enjoy your time in the Keystone State.
Okay, brother. Have a good day.
We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro on the eponymous program. Let's hear from our great sponsors. We've got a Veterans Tribute. We've got more, as they always say, after this. About to run out of power on my iPad Pro. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, this day as with every day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga. And it's Tuesday, so we like to feature one of his great companies, Serenity Care. It's a personal care community. It's senior living that is the gold standard in Northeast Pennsylvania. 4 locations in the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, in Old Forge at that county's southern tip, in Wyoming, and Kingston in Luzerne County. All 4 personal care locations completely renovated inside and out. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. They're respectful to our senior citizens. So whether it's you or a family member, you know you're doing the right thing by coming to Serenity Care. Timothy Martin, he was just 60. We lost him June 26th. He was from Harvey's Lake. He had a lengthy battle with cancer. The 4th of 4 children. He was born in Wilkes-Barre. In 1980, his family moved to Clifton Township, and he graduated from North Pocono High School. Tim served all of us in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1984 to 1986 as an avionics mechanic. He spent most of his adult life as a mechanic and truck driver. Worked for Time Enterprise for 24 years and Cormark International for over 16. He received Cormark's Best of the Best Truck Driver of the Year for the region, state, and corporate-wide in 2018. He was a safe driver, winning numerous awards. He grew up attending Parsons Primitive Methodist Church and attended many other Primitive Methodist churches throughout his life. Surviving is his wife, Aubrey Ellisor Martin. They were married in 2020. Also, daughters, grandchildren, other family, uncle and great uncles he was. He loved the Red Sox, the Giants, NASCAR, and motorcycles. He was part of a huge family on his mother's side. He was the 31st grandchild, one of 38 first cousins. Family meant everything, and he was proud of that title of friend. Timothy Martin. James Kissel. We lost him June 2nd. He was from Dixon City. He was 95 years old. Born in Peckville. His wife of 73 years, surviving him, Marianne Hudak Kissel. Graduate of St. Mary's Parochial School, Dixon City, and Scranton Prep, class of 1948. Right after that, he served in the Navy for 4 years during the Korean conflict. He moved to Harrisburg after marriage and worked at Telegraph Press, PA. And he became a journeyman printer. After returning to the Scranton area, he worked at Obrana Press and Manus Langen Printing Company. Together with his wife, they started and owned Kissel Printing for over 30 years. Remember the company well. He'll be remembered as a beloved husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and friend. He was a respected businessman and a familiar face in the community. Known for his strong work ethic, integrity, quick wit, and warm sense of humor. He was an accomplished golfer. He's survived by his 5 children, their spouses, 11 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. James Kissel, our great veterans this hour, brought to you, as always on Tuesday, by Serenity Care, personal living centers, and a personal care community to count on. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort. Well, they're in the swing, full swing summer at the great water park up there, right within city limits. You're going to love it. Today, cloudy and humid. Passing shower or two, high 74. Tonight, mostly cloudy down to 63. Tomorrow, humid with intervals of clouds and sunshine. Perfect water park day. High 85, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm. High 82, low 68. Friday, periods of clouds and sunshine. Couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Humid. High of 83, low of 64. Saturday, mainly cloudy with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon. High of 84. And that's your weather, brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort, the water park. It's happening. George Harrison, Murph tells us this date, 1969, he recorded his vocals for the great hit by the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun. Bob Cordaro back with you on WILK. And Mother Teresa, St. Teresa for July 7th. She says, one of the most beautiful gifts that God has given me is to serve and put my love for Jesus in living action as I serve the poorest of the poor. In giving tender love and care to the poor, to the dying, to the crippled, to the unwanted, to the unloved, to the lepers, and so bring new life and new joy into their lives. And yes, you did, St. Teresa. St. Teresa for today, July 7th. Thank you, Mary Regina, as always. Hey, let's go right to the blower. We got Bill from Pittston. Bill, how are you, brother?
Good, great show. I'll tell you, the Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, what a guy. And I'll
He's
tell you,
great.
my man,
I love that guy. You know, and I got to tell you, you know what impresses me the most about him? He obviously very eloquent, but he could be pushing himself to the forefront media-wise. And he's not, and he doesn't do it, and I love that about him. He's humble, he stays low-key, and does his job.
and a lot of energy.
Yep.
The other one was our Lou. I'll tell you, Lou Barletta, I campaigned for him. If he was governor, we wouldn't have the mess we do with these illegal aliens driving trucks.
I know it.
It's just sad. Well, I'll tell you, I called Talkback 16 about a week or maybe even longer when John Fetterman and Dave McCormick announced the bipartisan effort to have a representation on the mall for our Commonwealth. And I also added this caveat, and I knew I probably wouldn't go on because I praised them for their bipartisan work, and I said it exposes our governor as a liar that he couldn't get any sponsors. And, of course, I didn't think I'd get on. They did put me on the one time when I called the governor a putz. They did put that on. But the other time, but it just infuriates me that this governor tries to come across as he's a caring guy. And on your show, how many times have you exposed him for prosecuting innocent people and, walking away from it? And now his inactivity on this killing of this state police. And I have members of my family that are in the state police. And if my family member or any other state policeman or anybody else, I'm going to hold the governor responsible. And I don't know what I can do, whatever I can do, put him in the hot seat.
We have illegal aliens who've received CDL licenses in Pennsylvania because of his sloth. He's just as guilty as the governor of Massachusetts.
Absolutely. And he should be exposed for it. And that's one of the reasons I called in. He should be exposed for his ineptitude, his insensitivity, and he really needs to be held accountable. And in the future, there should be a mandatory sentence for these illegal aliens when they commit murder. I'd like to see them get life imprisonment, but that's not going to happen. But I think it should be a substantial mandatory sentence to teach them a lesson.
And I don't know. What do you do with these politicians, Bill, who don't care? They don't care about American lives. They don't care about – think of this state trooper. His entire family's life is destroyed. I don't even know how they pick up the pieces after this disaster. We think of this young lady out in Chicago, and on and on and on, and they don't care.
Well, it's like Plattner. Bernie Sanders hasn't condemned him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he stays on the ticket. And they defended this guy. It's okay. The woman's always right, except when she's a Republican. It just kills me.
I
They
mean,
don't
this
care.
guy, he's got to be about the worst person on the planet. They invented the word white trash for Graham Plattner.
That's what makes him the best Democratic candidate you can find.
Yeah, he is emblematic. Yep.
But, I'll tell you, I just get so frustrated. But I have a friend that's a Democrat, and he was telling me how he likes the mayor of New York. And I said, "Are you on crack?"
Wow.
I said, "Cut me a break." I said, "This guy is a communist." He said, "Well, I didn't know that." And that's the problem.
He's a communist and a jihadist.
Yes, and I talked about how he didn't show up for that parade for the Jews that has been held entered by every mayor since, the 1890s or something?
And the scumbag wife went to a Muslim retreat out of the country for our 250th birthday. These people are beyond reprehensible. They're unbelievable. Unreal.
I was in a store. I was making a purchase, and we were making small talk with the salesperson. And I said, "Boy, I hope you had a nice holiday." And she said, "I don't celebrate that holiday." And I just started to boil, but I'm thinking, don't do it. So we just ended it at that because I was ready to just explode.
Well, the one thing is she's stupid. So that you better count your change because she's
her to be a Democrat voter.
She's probably not capable of counting your change properly. Oh, Lord. This is a frightening group of people. I just talked about former Senator Casey at the Black Scranton Project, and somebody pointed out Glynis Johnson, who's the CEO. She's the person. The cops were stationing themselves in the parking lot of this building. It's a former bank building, which was given to Black Scranton, by the way. And she called the mayor and said, "We're uncomfortable with the police being here." A normal person, a normal group of people they'd be, "Thank you for having the cops here. We know everything's safe." No, she wanted them removed. And guess what? Mayor Cognetti removed the police, told them don't be there.
Of course he did.
Insane.
I mean, it's the same line of thinking, like with that Sunny Hostin was from The View. I don't watch it, but I saw that little clip where she said the American flag makes her uncomfortable.
The battle is within as well as without. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it, man.
That's what's the problem with the country.
Amen. I know it. Well, we'll keep waging it. We're not giving up. Hey, let's take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. So we're in a Terra on Friday night. So the storm, I get this, like, it breaks into my phone. It's a loud noise. Now, my phone's on silent all the time, which is why I seldom answer phone calls because I don't see them. And so the alert goes off. Now, I'd never had this happen before. And so the alert happens, and now the next night, flooding, some flood warnings. So every time that my phone now lights up with a message from somebody, this alert comes, and I can't get rid of it. And it's from days ago. First of all, I don't like the fact that they know my number and they're sending me stuff. I don't like that at all. But now I can't even get rid of it. Fascinating. And a bit disconcerting. Couple of texts. Back to Mike's call from Bloomsburg. Somebody said, Mike is correct. Trump is only temporary. We're watching the fall of the greatest country ever. At least we made it to 250. If we give in. Another listener, dovetailing on Mike's point, the modern communist, socialist, lunatic Democrat Party is enabled by a bunch of old school, conservative, decent Democrats who have not realized their party left them. It happens a little at a time and then all at once. And it has happened. And it's gone. And you have a great Democrat like Bob Casey Sr., and his son is pursuing and encouraging lunacy and lying. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Tom from Dallas says Democrats do not care that illegals are killing Americans. And man, I hate to call them Democrats. They're communists. Because I know Democrats. They're normal. You can have a conversation. You go back and forth. They may disagree with you on points, but we have a common heritage. Glynis Johns of the Black Scranton Project. She's afraid to have police protection. These people are insane. And the Who Pays tour should be the Irony Abounds tour. You're sucking the teat of government so hard, it's exhausted. It's all government money. It's all government programs. And they're complaining. So he said, know why Casey's at the Black Scranton Project? Because it's the only woke thing in this area where he can get his fix. He's addicted to the wacko left agenda and can't quit it. Cabinet guy Shapiro will probably pardon this murderer so he won't get deported, just like Tim Walz did. I know. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Somebody says, Bob, even Bloomberg is full of it. Hey, Bloomberg is not a reliable news medium. They used to be business. Mike Bloomberg went Democrat and left-wing lunatic because he's guilty. He feels guilty that he's rich. They are not reliable. The listener continues. Are we to believe that tourism is down this year with the World Cup? Unbelievable. I know. Is there anything reliable in the media anymore? Is there? Hey, before we break for the news, Roach Supply, premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania, celebrating 75 years in business. 95-year-old Ron Roach at the head, 3 generations working side by side. Visit roachsupply.com today, ROCHE. They are the best at kitchen and bath. They do so much more, but they're best at kitchen and bath. That's who you want to talk to. Honest, good at what they do. That's how you last 75 years and 4 generations. That's how you do it. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, McCarter Jewelers Watch, says it's 11:01 and change. So we'll take this break and be back. Great good morning, everyone. It's 11:09 a.m. on my Picardo Jewelers watch. This beautiful, what is it, Monday, July 7, year of our Lord, or Tuesday, July 7, year of our Lord 2026 here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care, personal care community, who tells you, live better, and you can. The brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans who we lost this year but celebrate today thanks to John, like James Kissel, Dixon City, Timothy Martin, Harvey's Lake, Larry Stange, Springbrook Township, Ernest Tressa, Plains Township, Thomas Aiello, Milton, David Bauer, late at Gettysburg, but he was from Berwick. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle, gaveling back to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense after that brief news adjournment, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all who hearken here. So much going on, and it is Revolutionary War time. So we're calling on program historian Rick Bigelow to dive deep on some subjects related to the revolution. These are things I don't even think they get taught anymore. I really don't. And that's why it's so important that Rick is here with us today and always. Our man, patent attorney extraordinaire, Rick Bigelow. How are you, Rick?
Doing fine, Bob. How are you?
I'm great. Good to have you back. I hope you enjoyed your 250th celebration over the weekend.
Absolutely.
It was just nice. I watched, I got home on Saturday night to watch the goings-on in Washington, D.C., out on our back patio. It was great. Very enjoyable.
I think what I enjoyed as much as anything is watching all these Europeans and Asians come to the United States and and just say how wonderful it was here. So that was edifying.
I'm happy that people are behaving because, we can be a little rough. So we're behaving, and that's a good thing. And now, Rick, I don't know if you're a soccer fan. I'm not. I try to watch the games. With the United States out, it's going to be a little bit of a different feel, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, you're right.
But it may be positive because now we won't be rooting against anybody with our American team. So maybe it'll be net positive. I don't know.
Right.
All right. Well, Rick, you suggested talking a little bit about aspects of the Revolutionary War and the country's independence, and I said, hell yes. So let's kick it off.
Okay, I thought today we'd talk about how we got to the Revolutionary War, and a lot of it has to do with the French and Indian War, which happened from basically 1754 to 1763, and that was a war fought between the French and their Indian allies and the British and their Indian allies, and it was primarily over who was going to have control of lands to the west of the Appalachian Mountains, and including a lot of the upper Midwest and also the Ohio River Valley. So that was a 9-year war. Quite a few people fought in it. 46,000 British regulars and provincial troops, 10,000 French regulars, and 15,000 militia fought in the war. 3,000 British troops were killed. 11,000 provincial troops and Indian allies were killed, and an estimated 25,000 settlers and colonials
Wow.
died. So it was a significant war
Yeah.
when you look at the fact that at the time in the 13 colonies, the population was maybe 2.5 million. And of course, a lot of these fatalities and injuries and so on and so forth happened at the frontier. And interestingly enough, at this point in time, the frontier, especially in Pennsylvania, was more or less along the Susquehanna River Valley, all the way up from the New York border down to the Chesapeake Bay. So the Treaty of Paris ended the war between the UK, France, and Spain. And of course, France and Spain were very tightly allied at that point in time. So whenever one of them got into a war, the other usually helped them out. So basically, the Treaty of Paris gave up New France to the British. And if you look at that map that we've got up right now, giving up everything basically to the Mississippi River meant that the British colonies, which up until that time were primarily coastal along the 13 colonies and maybe 100 or so miles inland, would basically quadruple the amount of land that the British had at that point in time. So the French gave up New France to the British, Spain ceded Florida to the UK, and France ceded the Louisiana area to Spain, and Spain gave it back about 20 years later. So things were really in flux. But after the war, the British became the largest landholders on the North American continent. The bad news was that the war was extremely costly to the British, who were looking for new sources of revenue. Prior to 1765, the colonies had essentially self-governed. They either had a British governor or a specific charter from the crown allowing them to have their own governor. They had their own legislative bodies, they imposed taxes, and they had their own currency and their own statutes and things like that. At the time, in the mid-1700s, the North American colonies were profitable to the British, but the ones that were really profitable were Jamaica and Barbados in the Caribbean, which provided sugar. And the profits realized from these two island colonies was more than the profits from the mainland colonies. The most profitable mainland colonies were South Carolina for rice and indigo, and North Carolina and Virginia tobacco, and also lumber from the northern woods was sent to the British. Much of it was used to build their awesome navy. One of the things I wanted to talk about, the more I looked at this, just how important slavery was at this point in time, not only in North America and the United States, but also all of North and South America. So basically, an estimated 12 to 15 million East African slaves were transported to America during the slave trade. About 1 to 2 million died en route. The overwhelming number went to Brazil, about 50% of them, which is in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 million, to work in the sugar plantations, gold mines, and later on coffee plantations. The next highest number went to the Caribbean to work on sugar plantations, including the British sugar plantations. Another 500,000 to 1 million went to Spanish America, South and Central America, and only about 388,000 went to North America, and mostly they went to the 13 colonies with Virginia, Maryland, and the Carolinas and Georgia. So of all the slaves that were sent in the transatlantic slave trade, only about 4% actually went to North America. At the time of the Revolution, most colonies still allowed slavery and importation of slaves. And I think, as we've mentioned before on your show, Jefferson, in the original draft of the Declaration of Independence, included a diatribe against King George and slavery. It had to be removed at the insistence of the southern states because there was no way they were going to sign the Declaration of Independence or any form of new government with a condemnation of slavery. So the Constitution even does not specifically mention slavery, once again, because the southern states wouldn't agree to it. So basically, all during the post French and Indian War time, up until the establishment of the United States, slavery was the unspoken elephant in the room in the debates. The other thing was that there's a misconception that most slaves were sent to the Americas by American ships, but that's not true either. Mostly Portuguese and Brazilian ships shipped the most, then the British, French, Spanish. Very few American ships actually sent slaves
Rick,
to the Americas.
I was pointing out on Friday, or Thursday rather, that the part all men are created equal deal was written before the objections to any mention of slavery came in, and it remained because there were no objections to it. Oddly enough, it wasn't like, well, how about this? You know how all the revisionists point out, oh, they said all men are created equal, but look at this. Well, it was already there, and then there was editing done.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep, that's what happened.
Rick, we're going to take a break. It's 11:20 on my Picardo's watch. Rick Bigelow's our guest. We're talking about the precursor to the Revolutionary War in America. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, Rick Bigelow, when we get back. Cheap Trick. Murph tells us his date, 1979. They had the number 5 album with Cheap Trick live at Budokan. Surrender is the song he chose. And before that, some of you may remember, former Enron chairman Kenneth Lay, indicted on criminal charges related to the energy company's collapse. He was convicted of fraud at a trial, and but he died before he could be sentenced, and while his appeal was going on, so the conviction was set aside. All right, we're talking with Rick Bigelow, precursors to the American Revolution. Rick, continue, my man.
Okay, let's talk about the 13 colonies. So here's a list of them. New Hampshire, which included much of present-day Vermont. The Massachusetts Bay Colony, which included much of present-day Maine. Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, which to this day remains the official name of the state of Rhode Island. Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, including much of what is present-day West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Florida, which had recently become a British possession, remained loyal to the Crown. The recently acquired colonies of Quebec, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, etc., remained loyal to the Crown, although there were attempts to have them join the 13 colonies in the Revolution. And, of course, the British colonies in the West Indies remained loyal to the Crown. So, like I said, after the French and Indian War, the British Treasury was under severe stress. So the British Parliament and the Crown looked for ways to raise money. So they started with a whole bunch of taxes. Starting with a proclamation of 1763, which forbade colonists from settling west of the Appalachian Mountains. And, of course, this really angered the colonists because a lot of them said, we bore the brunt of the fighting in that region, and we should be allowed to move there. But the British government didn't want to have British colonists move there because they wanted to reserve that for the French. Then the Sugar Act came along, and that increased duties on non-British goods like sugar and molasses. The Currency Act of 1764 prohibited American colonies from issuing their own paper money, and that was a disruption to colonial economies. Then the one that we're all familiar with, the Stamp Act, this of 1765, this was the first direct tax on colonists, requiring all legal documents, newspapers, playing cards, etc., to carry a purchase tax stamp. This sparked massive outrage and the rallying cry, no taxation without representation. There was such an uproar about that it was repealed in 1766. Then there was another act, the Quartering Act, that required colonial assemblies and local governments to provide housing and provisions for British soldiers. Then there was another act called the Declaratory Act, which was passed immediately after repealing the Stamp Act, which said we have the right, the British Parliament has the right to make any law we want to and bind the colonies in all cases whatsoever. In 1768, the British Crown started sending more and more regular troops into Boston, which had a population of about 15,000, until by 1775, there were about 10,000 troops in Boston itself. So the British government at this time was constitutional monarchy with a king and a parliament. There was the House of Parliament and the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And unlike today, the House of Lords had authority. They could actually veto anything the House of Commons came up with. King George III was the first member of the House of Hanover, who were all ethnic Germans, to be born in Great Britain, and he spoke English as his first language. Even until today, the British Crown is populated by kings and queens and princes and so on, who are all ethnic Germans. In World War I, they changed their name to the House of Windsor to create some distance with the Germans. So King George III ascended the throne in 1760. His prime minister was Lord North, who was a longtime friend of the king. So more acts come along. The Townshend Acts come along in 1767. It was a series of laws that placed duties on imported goods like glass, lead, paint, paper, and tea. This led to widespread boycotts, especially in the Boston area, and violent resistance, which culminated in the Boston Massacre. On March 5th, 1770, the Boston Massacre occurred. British soldiers killed 5 colonists, including increasing anti-British sentiment. Paul Revere created an engraving showing the massacre, and it was widely distributed. So you can see that there was just a continual one tax after another and one diminution of freedom among the colonists that were getting the colonists very angry. So after the Boston Massacre, John Adams famously represented the British soldiers who were charged with murder. His rationale was, I want to live in a country where there is a fair trial, and he gets the charge reduced to manslaughter. And at that point in time, most of the British troops leave Boston. So then there's another act in 1773 where the British East India Company, which at the time was suffering some financial difficulties, had a monopoly on tea sales in the colony. And this bypassed local merchants, which triggered the infamous Boston Tea Party. 1773, the Boston Tea Party, and this is where the colonists dumped tea in the harbor to protest the Tea Act. So there's a final push to war in 1774, a bunch of acts known as the Coercive Acts, which the Americans called Intolerable Acts, passed specifically to punish Massachusetts and isolate Boston for the destruction of tea. They dissolved Massachusetts' 80-year-old charter, suspended the Massachusetts Constitution, sent in a military governor, and sent an additional 3,000 troops into Boston. At the same time, Benjamin Franklin, who had been in London for 20 years as a trade representative, chastised by the British government. He was called into one of the Parliament's rooms, and he was just upbraided by members of Parliament for hours, and he just stood there and said nothing. Shortly after that, he left England, and he returned to America as a dedicated revolutionary. The one final act that really pushed a lot of the colonists over the brink was the Quebec Act of 1774, which expanded the Canadian border in the previously claimed colonial territories and granted free practice of Catholicism. And of course, at this point in time, many of the colonists, British colonists, were Protestants and who had escaped, and they and their forebears had escaped Britain because they were oppressed. So there was even Protestant Catholic friction at this point in time. So after that, there had been widespread correspondence among members of many of the colonists' assemblies. First Continental Congress convened in 1774. They met for 6 weeks to try to repair the deteriorating relationships between the colonies and the Crown. At the same time, they passed the Continental Association, which was a unified trade embargo against the British. Local militias were ordered to arm. In the Boston area alone, there are 20,000 militia members, including the Minutemen. Then they agreed to have a second Continental Congress in 1775. And it's interesting, of the militia up and down the 13 colonies, there were 100 to 150,000 colonials in the militia. So it was a large body, and at this point in time, a lot of them were really pretty mad at the British Crown. So in the space of about 10 years, after the end of the French and Indian War, they went from being very loyal subjects of Great Britain to the brink of rebellion and eventually revolution. So, Bob, why don't we cut it off right there, and we'll talk about the Second Continental Congress next time and how the Declaration of Independence came about and the early battles of the Revolutionary War.
The consequences of financing British wars spawned our revolution. That's it in a short nutshell, right?
Well, that's it. And one of the things you look at it, and in fact, the saying "no taxation without representation," that didn't originate in the 13 colonies. It originated in Ireland, where the British Parliament had passed a series of acts to increase revenues from the Irish and basically to cut down on their trade. Yeah. And that was it was picked up by the Americans. So the British Parliament was really pretty good at levying taxes on people who couldn't vote them out of office.
Such a degree of arrogance. Rick Bigelow, thank you so much. I look forward to future explorations of this process. It was amazing. It's important, and it's how we got here. We love it. Thank you.
Be glad to keep going, Bob.
All right, my man. Thank you so much. Rick Bigelow, patent attorney extraordinaire, but even more important to us, he is our historian. We'll take a break. We'll be back with the Veterans Tribute after this. Our Veterans Tribute. This hour as with every hour. This day as with every day. Brought to you by our man John Basiliga. Today we feature another of his great companies, Serenity Care, Personal Care Communities, who tells you live better. 4 locations in the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County. Then Old Forge on its southern tip. 2 locations in Luzerne County, Wyoming and Kingston. All 4 have been completely renovated inside and out. They're accepting new residents. Dementia care services at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations, so they are indeed full service. Serenity Care Senior Living Centers. Live better. Thomas Aiello. He was 78 when we lost him June 26th. He was from Milton. He was a true fighter in his battle with cancer. Born in Scranton. In 1977, he married the love of his life, the former Dolores Lanzo, who survives him. 1965, graduate of West Scranton High School. He earned a bachelor's degree from Wilkes University. He proudly served this country in both the Air Force and the Navy during the Vietnam War. He was a member of the DAV and received the Honor of Valor. Tom worked as a dispatcher for Roadway Express for over 25 years. He was a member of St. Joseph Church of Milton. He loved trivia, solving crossword puzzles, history museums, traveling. Survived by his wife, Dolores, a son, 2 daughters, 6 grandchildren. Tragically predeceased by his son, Thomas Aiello Jr. Thomas Aiello. David Bauer. He was 74. He was from Gettysburg, a Coast Guard veteran, a Civil War buff. We lost him June 13th. Born in Berwick, he's survived by his wife of 26 years, Marion Taylor Bauer. David was a 1969 graduate of Berwick High School. He then attended Gettysburg College, where he received a BA in political science and a minor in economics. He entered the family business General Tank Company in Berwick, a company involved with global logistics of transportation and leasing of large-scale tanks. David was a project manager who traveled for the next 10 years on company business. In 2002, he moved to Fort Pierce, Florida, and for the next 7 years was a volunteer for the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. He then returned to Gettysburg to explore his passion for the Civil War and the Gettysburg battlefield, which he walked almost every day. Extensive collection of Civil War books that he added to with the release of each new book from that time. He was a chaplain at Camp Levine, a Boy Scout camp in Benton. He was fond of the Boy Scouts because he himself was an Eagle Scout. Survived by his son, 2 stepchildren, 5 step-grandchildren, 2 brothers, other family members. David Bauer. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his Serenity Care personal care community, who tells you, live better. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the Montage Mountain Resort and Water Park. Today, cloudy and humid, passing shower or 2, high 74. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 63. Tomorrow, humid with intervals of clouds and sunshine, 85 degrees. Perfect day at the water park, low 67. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm, high 82, low 68. Friday, periods of clouds and sunshine with a couple of showers. An afternoon thunderstorm possible. It'll be humid. High 83, low 64. Saturday, mainly cloudy with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon. High 84. And right now, 70 degrees at Montage Mountain and the water park. But if we don't, this date, 1980, Led Zeppelin. They performed live for the final time at the Eisportal in West Berlin, finishing the concert with a 17-minute version of their hit, Whole Lotta Love. And that's it. What a complete idiot. And guess what? He's not from Scranton. Take him at his word. He's from Baltimore. Yet, the fools, the majority at the Greenridge Neighborhood Association said, let's put up a hometown hero for Joe Biden on North Washington Avenue. Well, apparently, they didn't know those hometown hero banners are for veterans. Biden ducked service repeatedly. When told that, they still voted 10-5 to keep the banner up. Shame. He's not a veteran. He's not from Scranton. And he was the worst president in the history of this country. A corrupt scumbag. Honored by the Greenridge Neighborhood Association. Embarrassing their entire neighborhood, our entire city. Biden banner disgrace. Stolen valor. Day 205. 1984, this date, ZZ Top moved into the top 10 charts at number 10 with their hit Legs, or as in Dunmore, as we say in Dunmore, leg. I don't know how we got there, but in Dunmore, it's called a leg. Hey, let's go to Linda from Parsons. Hi, Linda. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Bob, Linda Urban calling from the Parsons section of Wilkes-Barre.
How are you?
I'm down here with Walter Griffith and Joe, and we are collecting signatures for the anti-discrimination petition on the corner of Scott Street and Matson Avenue. And we'll be here all day. We're at the new Quick Mart.
I love that you guys are doing making this effort. This is so important.
We are asking all registered voters in the vicinity, or if you're on 81, take the Central City exit into Parsons. We're right on Scott Street, and we're having a very, very positive response. So, I just want to mention we're here and we're ready.
Linda, this is and just for everyone's edification, this is the this ridiculous ordinance passed by a left-wing lunatic controlled Luzerne County Council. By the way, funded by left-wing lunatic Washington, D.C. organizations for their campaigns. But
Bob, I just want to mention, and I want to make this very clear to our wonderful Luzerne County voters, this petition enables us to get a ballot question. We need to get the question on the May 2027 primary ballot.
Okay.
That is all it is. Do you want the ordinance or not?
And so this ordinance reaches so far, and it's trying to put Luzerne County Council as the behavior police. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Absolutely. And we have to stop it. And I'm telling everybody from this vicinity, Plains, Parsons, Miners Mills, East End, the Heights, Kingston, get here. We are here, Scott Street and Matson Avenue in the Parsons section of Wilkes-Barre.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, and thank you, Bob.
Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it so much, Linda.
Anytime.
All right.
God bless America.
You know it, baby. Thank you. Well, we're finishing with Shambhala, Mr. Paul's favorite song. Three Dog Night, Murph tells us, had their 16th hit and 10th top 10 at number 6 with Shambhala this date, 1973. Somebody texts in, Biden was truly impressive. He was from wherever he was at, has been through whatever people he was talking to went through. He's rich but poor, oppressed and a minority at the same time. Maybe he does need a banner. Oh, what a sickening disgrace. And I'm telling you, the Greenridge Neighborhood Association, right with it. They are despicable. And their foolishness and their lying and their descent into disgrace continues. 205 days. They won't take the banner down even though they know they're wrong. That tells you all you need to know about the leadership of that organization. I hope it doesn't say as much about Greenridge itself, but maybe it does if you guys haven't undone it in any event. Somebody says they forgot about the Hazelden area for this effort. Well, you guys in Hazelden got to step it up. They're from Wilkes-Barre. They're doing it in Wilkes-Barre. Somebody's got to step up to the plate in Hazleton and go after the recall of this ordinance. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, Hazleton. Thanks to Roach Supply, bringing you our live stream on YouTube. Bob Cordaro Show, WILK, You can catch it. Roach Supply, the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. Visit Roach Supply, ROCHE.com today. And, of course, we thank our gal, Tina Morocco, your trusted advisor for Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. MURACCO, TinaMorocco.com. Guys, God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow to do it again because we have to. We've got to save this country. We've got to save this area from insanity. I don't know if we can save the Democrat Party. I really don't know. But my Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's past noon. That means we got to gavel to a close. Today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense telling you have a great afternoon and adios. Adjourned.